I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 17, 2022 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Ms. Brown, would you please take the roll?
Sunday. Here. Mumgard. Here. Gaines. Here. Glover. Here. Jaworski. Here. Klug. Here. Stubbe. Here. Engberg.
Here. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And do we have a affidavit of publication on file?
We do.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. We have two presentations tonight. We have two different groups who are being recognized. One will start with Public Works. Michael. We've got an official proclamation I'd like to give. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Papillion. Whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are federally mandated first responders and the engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. Whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and everybody else in Papillion to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works first responders and public works programs in their respective communities. The year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Therefore, I recognize May 15th to 21st is National Public Works Week in the city of Papillion and urge everyone to join with representatives of the APWA and the government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to the public works professionals. You want to say anything?
Well, as you all know, the Nebraska State tree or bush is making its appearance now. It's starting that season with the traffic cone being out. But I'd like to say that you know, one thing that I say is this is the season to start paying attention to the guys out there in the orange vests. I know that a lot of people take for granted that, you know, that they're out there doing a job, but keep in mind that they're out there and they need to be paid attention to so that everybody's safe, and I get my guys home safe every night.
Appreciate everything. Thank you. And Mr. Gowan. Whereas May 21st, 2022 is the 12th Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the third Saturday of May. Whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit local parks and public lands. Whereas we should encourage children to lead an active lifestyle. Whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature, the outdoors, and their community. Whereas Kids to Parks Day recognizes the importance of recreating responsibly while enjoying the benefits of the outdoors. Whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our local, state, and national parks. Whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim May 21st, 2022 as Kids to Park Day in the city of Papillion and urge residents to make time on that day to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood park, state, or national park. You want to say anything?
I'll say something. Papillion's blessed to have 17 parks for kids to play in, 5 recreation areas, 2 big splash pads, 1 small splash pad. The 2 big splash pads will be on Memorial Day weekend, the hottest question I've had all week. So there's plenty of opportunity for your kids to get out and get dirty, so let them go do that. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Ms. Powers, Administrator's Report, please.
Thank you. Congratulations to Recreation Director Tracy Stratman and Library Director Matt Kovar for graduating from Leadership Sarpy on May 10th. Both of their legacy groups did impactful projects. Matt's legacy group's project is here in Papillion, and they're installing a children's book walk at the Eagle Ridge Park where children can walk along and the path and read a book with the library periodically changing that book. And Steve Thornburg as well. Congratulations to Steve. And then congratulations to all the participants this past weekend in the half marathon event. And a big thank you to the Recreation Department for putting on this great event each year. This year there were 447 runners total between the half marathon, the 10K, and the 5K. And 153 of those runners were from Papillion. 21 cities in Nebraska were represented, along with 13 states. The Papillion Farmers Market begins on Wednesday, June 1st, and it will continue every Wednesday through August 24th at City Park. The fire department will be having a training exercise tomorrow, May 18th, starting at 7:30 a.m. They'll be burning 2 houses near 90th Street and Highway 370. The city has been pushing out notification on social media and through our city alert system, but you may still get questions about the smoke in the area. And department heads have started working on their upcoming budgets for the fiscal year 22-23, and Mayor Black and I will be reaching out to each of you to schedule our annual budget meetings with each of you. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Gaines, second by Councilman Sunday. Do you have any proponents or opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item D1, Ordinance 1965, an ordinance to amend Section 170-32 of the Papillion Municipal Code having to do with waivers of Chapter 170, Subdivision of Land. The applicant is the City of Papillion. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Ingberg. D2, Ordinance 1966, an ordinance to approve a change of zone from R2, single-family residential medium density, to R4 PUD2, multifamily residential specific planned unit development for the property legally described as the south 77 feet of Lot 2, Block 33, Beatles Addition, generally located at 526 North Jefferson Street. The applicant is St. Columbikill Church. Is there a council member who will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Sunday. D3, Ordinance 1967, an ordinance to amend Papillion Municipal Code, Section 15814, to modify existing sewer connection fees. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Stube. Item E1, Ordinance 1964, an ordinance to create special revenue funds for Papio Bay and Papillion Landing. This is a public hearing. I'll open it. Do we have any proponents or opponents? Close the public hearing. Item F1, Resolution R220070, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Fiscal Year 2021-2022 budget. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220070? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Jaworski. Are there any proponents or opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Related item F2, Resolution R220071, a resolution to approve the Sarpy County and City's wastewater agency's proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220071? Motion by Councilman Gaines, second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F3, Resolution R220079, a resolution to approve Aaron M. Purdom as the corporate manager for Fairway Stores, Inc., doing business as Fairway Stores number 049 for their Class C liquor license. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220079? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilwoman Klug. Any proponents or opponents? Is the applicant here? Okay. Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F4, Resolution R220080, a resolution to approve Robert T. Burke as the corporate manager for Quick Shop, Inc., doing business as Quick Shop number 687 for their Class D liquor license. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220080? Motion by Councilwoman Klug. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Is the applicant here? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Item F5, Resolution R220081, a resolution to approve a final plat for the property legally described as a tract of land located in part of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter and part of the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 29, Township 14 North, Range 12 East of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located on the southeast corner of South 114th Street and Cornhusker Road. The applicant is Stone Creek Plaza, LLC, Granite Falls North, Phase 4. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220081? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Stube. Proponents, welcome. Jason Thielen, E&A Consulting Group. Can you pick them? And when people come up, can you pick the mic up? It doesn't have the best. It doesn't have the best distance. It's a temporary system.
Makes me feel like a rock star.
Thank
It's good to be back in this building, by the way. It's been a long time.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Jason Thielen, E&A Consulting Group, 10909 Mill Valley Road, Suite 100. Here on behalf of the applicant. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other proponents or opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F6, Resolution R220082, a resolution to approve the 7th Amendment to the Granite Falls North Subdivision Agreement. Motion to approve Resolution R220082. Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Stube. Any proponents or opponents? The applicant is still here. Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. F7, Resolution R220083, a resolution to approve the 3rd Amendment of the 370 North Subdivision Agreement. Motion to approve Resolution R220083. Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Glover. Any proponents or opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday. Okay. Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. Item F8, Resolution R220087, a resolution to approve an agreement with Leader Construction in the amount of $684,770 for the remodel of Fire Station Number 3, 146 North Adams. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220087? Motion by Councilman Klug. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Yes, Mr. Gaines.
Just had a quick question. What kind of improvements? Didn't know if any of them worked. Thanks. What kind of improvements are we doing in the remodel?
I will ask
for the public.
Chief Bose. I'd give an answer, but I'll probably forget a few items, so I think it's best to have Chief give it directly. And one thing before he starts, as he's getting that, I think it's important for anybody watching or public to understand our relationship on fire. So the fire department is a City of Papillion fire department. There are employees, and it's our operation. However, there are 2 other government agencies that outsource their fire and EMS to Papillion, one being the Rural Fire District, the Papillion Rural Fire District, and the other one being the City of La Vista. And so the Papillion Fire Department actually runs in 3 different jurisdictions out of 4 stations, and we share the cost of that based on our individual levies, and so our budget has the full cost, and then we get reimbursed. So when you see a cost in here, that's the full cost of the contract. There's a governing board that the 3 organizations come together that kind of have board level responsibility, and that board has already approved what Mr. Bose will share, and then this amount is the contract out of that. So this, while we're approving the entire amount because it's our department, it will be shared amongst the 3. But can you share what the scope of work is?
Sure. Bill Bose, Fire Chief. Was that the question, the scope of work?
Yeah, and I can see it in here, but just for the public's purpose, if we could, I had some questions about the fire department when we originally were talking about maybe moving it, building a new one, and so.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. So Station 3, the original downtown Papillion Fire Station, built in '66, and then in addition added on in 1994 when it was an all-volunteer fire department. We've maintained it over the years, but it's due for a makeover, much like a house that we live in. The problem with the building has been that it's partway in the floodway, partway in the floodplain. So we've been very limited on what we can do with it. So we've gone through it and determined what are the livable aspects that we can change in there without necessarily remodel, moving walls and that type of thing. So we've gone through and we're going to update the flooring. Because people are in there 24 hours a day, we're going to get rid of carpet and make it polished concrete floors, so it's very durable, very easy to care for. LED lighting. We need 2 new furnaces, 1 new air conditioner. The other furnaces and air conditioners we replaced through the years. New paint. The southwest corner of the building has some mortar damage to the block that we've repaired over the years, but it continues to crumble because it's exposed to the weather. So we're going to put some outdoor siding on that to protect it, so that should take care of it really permanently. We've redone the roof already. So a lot of those kitchens and bathrooms, those are favorite things in houses. So we're going to do new cabinets in the kitchen, keep all the appliances because those are relatively new. So it'll be kind of a makeover more than a remodel. And the funding that we're using for that is coming from the CARES funds that we received from the federal government back, I think, early in 2021.
And I think you made an important point. It was built as a volunteer fire department, so it was never intended for living quarters. And then since we've got full-time for the last 10 years, there's been a hodgepodge of living, so it's going to make it livable now, and that's part of it as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have something for you.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, I still think that fire station needs to be moved out of the downtown area. We looked at that and tried to find a way to do that. I was very much in favor of it, and I remain in favor of that for various reasons. I think it would improve the downtown. But reality tells me that ain't going to happen for a while, and I'm not going to tell firefighters they have to continue to go to work in a deteriorating building. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, but this does not mean that I have given up on someday that fire station will be moved. Thank you.
And that's an important comment because council has talked about that, and that came into play in the discussion of the scope of work. How much do you do, how much do you not do, if eventually it would move, and the scope of realizing even if we said we wanted to relocate a station now, we got to go through site selection, buy the land, build a building, so we're probably, best case, by the time you go through the budget process, save the dollars, it's probably a 7 to 10 year conversation. And so a lot of this work really does address the immediate for that next 10 years. Any other council discussion? Please vote.
Sunday? Yes. Mumgarde? Yes. Gaines? Yes. Glover? Yes. Jaworski? Yes. Klug? Yes. Stube? Yes. Engberg? Yes. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Item F9, Ordinance 1954. Actually, the next 8 items are all related. And Mr. Sunday did share that he's going to abstain from those, so you don't have to say it every time. I'll say it once. So the next 8. Oh, no, that was appropriate. I just figured you didn't want to do it 8 times. Item F9, Ordinance 1954, an ordinance to approve a change of zone from AG agricultural to MU mixed use for the property legally described as a plating of part of Tax Lot 5, a tax lot located in the east half of the northeast quarter of Section 34, also together with part of the west half of said northeast quarter of Section 34, altogether in the Township 14 North, Range 12 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located on the northwest corner, South Washington Street and Highway 370, the applicant's 84370 Main Street LLC. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 1954? Motion. Motion by Councilman Ingberg, second by Councilman Jaworski. There is a request to amend the ordinance. There was a very minor modification by the developer on the number of lots. The subdivision layout reduced the number from 86 to 85. So we're asking, is there a motion to amend Ordinance 1954 to reduce the number of lots from 86 to 85? Motion by Councilman Jaworski. Second by Councilman Gaines. Any proponents or opponents on that? Any council discussion? Please vote on the motion to amend.
Mumgarde? Yes. Gaines? Yes. Glover? Yes. Jaworski? Yes. Klug? Yes. Stube? Yes. Engberg? Yes. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
Motion is amended. Proponents? And if you'd state your name for the record, and both for the applicant, and if anybody is here to speak either as a proponent or opponent, it might get confusing when to talk because there's 8 different items. So just get up whenever you think it's appropriate, and what we'll do for the minutes is all the comments from one will carry over to the next so we don't have to repeat. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Black. Members of Council, Brent Beller, 1140 West Center Road. Pretty cool to be standing in front of you all tonight. I don't really have much to say. The reality is we all sat here back in 2019. Many of you were at our design charrette where we laid this site out. And it's pretty exciting because really not much has changed since that original site plan. And I think that's kudos to the way we did this. And so with me tonight is Jesse Calabretto. He's the developer of this site, along with Mike Potoff with Colliers. They're in charge of selling all these lots, except for the residential. That's separate. And then Jason Thielen and Jeff LaMontagne with E&A. They are design and civil engineers on this project. And really, when we drew the pictures, it was those guys that actually worked with staff to kind of make everything a reality. And they are 2 of probably 10 or 12 folks, and probably put off some of their other bigger clients to really focus on this project. So all told, you know, when we started this in 2019 to where we are now, for a project of this magnitude, it's kudos to the development team, but really it's also kudos to the city of Papillion and the staff, Mark Sturzma, Michelle, Travis, Derek, Amber, everyone that has been involved. We know that there's a lot going on in your city, and folks really kind of stepped up and made this a priority because it should be a priority. It's a big piece of ground. It's right in the center of your city. And so when we looked at it, if you remember, we have the residential to the north, residential to the west. You have the South Washington on the east side with a commercial corridor. And so when we looked at that, it was kind of a blank canvas. But we wanted to blend and create a true mixed-use center for your town. And we think we did that. And that's why I started with the fact that really not much has changed since we did all this. And so I could probably tell you about some of the intricacies about what really did change. We didn't get everything we wanted. You know, when we look at the creek to the north, and there's some setbacks there that kind of affect how some of these lots laid out. But all told, we're pretty happy. And so I think you all know grading has started out there. We have closed on the acquisition of that ground. Grading has started. We've gotten questions about that just because we were about to lose our grader if we didn't get started. So timing was of the essence. But, you know, working through 2020, which was basically a lost year for everybody, to do a project of this size and to be here in front of you now is pretty exciting. And so we're ready to get going. I'm here really for questions at this point because, like I said, our final plat mirrors basically our preliminary plat. And so with that, obviously, this comes before you with both the Planning Department and Planning Commission's recommendation for approval for all items 9 through 16. I'm kind of globally talking here. But with that, I'll sit down. If there's questions, obviously, we'll respond to that. We appreciate everyone's help to get to this point, and we appreciate your consideration of this.
Appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Any other proponents or opponents or neutral? Go ahead and come up. And when you come up, if you'd state your name for the record. And address. Name and address for the record, and we generally give everybody 5 minutes. Welcome.
I'm Carol Coons. I live at 1012 South Madison in Papillion. Listening to this gentleman, everybody seems to be very, very happy with this, but I am not. My neighbors are not. Nobody listened to us. I was not in on the ground floor. I was having surgeries. I like my park. The school kids like the park. Everybody is down there. It's amazing how many people use that park. Leave the park alone, build another park in the development. I don't care. I will compromise. Let you take Valley Road all the way through. But bless the bus drivers that have to drive the bus when there's cars parked all along there picking up their kids. The water problem, I hope to God they have fixed it so my house doesn't flood. I'm not happy. And I realize most of you are men, you don't think. I'm a woman, and I know men don't think. But it's already a done deal. I can't do anything about it except complain and tell you all I am very disappointed in Papillion and very unhappy.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents? Welcome.
She's got to be up in here on Madison.
My name is Terry Perez. My address 403 Valley Road. My property is directly connected to Trumbull Park. And I have written letters, I have made phone calls, and I was told that there was a traffic study, etc. But we live right next to it. I've never seen a traffic study or any justification for intersecting Harrison and breaking up that park. That's a heavily used park. Many children. It's going to impact the safety of kids walking up there when you've got that street intersecting. And I feel the same way as my neighbor. No one has listened. And we were told from the very beginning we were wasting our time coming. And I am equally disappointed that I feel like nobody listened. It's going to happen. It was always going to happen. And no matter what we said or how I wrote, the response to my letter, thank you for your letter.
Thank you. Any other opponents or proponents? Welcome.
Hello, Mike Erdman, 1906 South Madison Street. I'm sure you got all my images again about the parking, again, and the traffic, what we discussed a little earlier tonight. Traffic is going to be a problem. My understanding, talking with the developer tonight, that Harrison Street will be a project of the city, not necessarily your group as a developer. Is that correct? As part of that breakthrough, if in fact that happens?
Public. We don't have Q&A in the public, but
okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
But that's okay. Council member can do a follow-up question.
Great. Yeah, that's what I'm curious when that will happen. It doesn't sound like, from what I understand, that won't be an immediate breakthrough. That'll be something down the road. But Valley will extend west, which is great. So my concern, as a lot of neighbors are, is that traffic impact around the school. There's one-way traffic now. As you can see by the handouts that I had, I wish we had a overhead tonight so everyone could see it. That's going to be a problem if Harrison Street comes north out of that development to Valley when there's one-way traffic. I know I proposed, or at least suggested, maybe there's a Taylor Street extension from Valley all the way to Grunther on the west side of the Trumbull Park School. Mr. Mumgard had a great idea. We chatted very briefly after, I believe it was the April 5th meeting, where we had talked about that road, and maybe the best idea might be a parking structure there where the parents can actually have a place to load and stage to pick their students up instead of being on Grunther, Harrison, and Valley, and up Madison Street. So there might be some compromise here. I think there's enough room there. Maybe work with the church that's there, maybe get a little bit more of that property that's really unused there where a retaining wall would, certainly they wouldn't even see that parking lot from there. So I think there's an opportunity there to take that pressure off those streets during school hours as we see an increase in volume if in fact Harrison goes north-south out of the new development. Second, traffic-wise, I drove by the area tonight. Valley comes out to 84th Street, and then there's Mathis, which is about 200 feet away, and that's going to be another intersection. I'd like to, if we can get any input from the developer tonight about how that traffic will be managed. Will it be lighted? Is there consideration of being lighted, et cetera? How will the entrance and exits go from there? That's going to be a real problem. When I was in 5th grade at Trumbull Park, we used to stand on the top of that hill as a flagger and flag people when there was a crosswalk down there, so the trucks, et cetera, wouldn't come over that hill too fast. That's still a problem today. It's not going to go away. The line of sight is very, very short there, coming south over that hill. Coming north, you can certainly see all the intersections, but coming over that hill might be a problem as traffic comes in. People are coming in from, let's say, Omaha or the northern parts of Sarpy County and southern parts of Douglas County. They're going to be coming down 84th Street to try to find this, and I think we're going to run into some issues there. So those are my issues about traffic. I'm excited to see the development there. I know some neighbors aren't so happy about it. I am. I think it's going to be a great addition to the city center for not only entertainment, business, offices, but also residential, as well as some missing middle apartments that are going to be available for purchase and those kinds of things, which I really think we need in this part of the town. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any other proponents or opponents? Mr. Mumgard.
Sir, can you come back in for a second? I just want to tell you that your Taylor Street extension idea, I think, has some value. I went and looked at it. I spent some time looking at it. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be extremely expensive to do it because of the topography. So would it be worthwhile to do it? I don't think at this time that question can be answered. And so secondly, I don't think that that's something that's really part of this development. Certainly the traffic patterns around Trumbull Park Elementary School are horrendous. That's because the school sits there right on top of the street and we can't do anything much about that. But I think that the idea that you've come up with of extending Taylor Street should be looked at, and I'm going to continue to ask the city to do that. Again, I'm very pessimistic about it from the cost standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Mumgard.
I think just one last question about that. All the other schools that have been built, elementary schools, have large parking areas, staging areas for pickup, drop off, etc. This is an old school that was built 60 years ago, and parking just wasn't a consideration. Everybody walked to school. That's not the case anymore. So we need to come up with a solution, just a parking solution, let alone just a driving solution in that neighborhood. So something needs to be done, something needs to be expanded. I hate to take away any playground or any other free space that's there. Valley's going to have to go through anyway. Right now that truncates to a circle there. So all that's going to have to be developed and tore up. So why we have it torn up, why don't we see if there's any way possible to add additional parking on that back quadrant of the school, the southwest corner of that school on the property, to see if there's anything that can be there, even if it's just student parking or bus staging or anything else to get those buses and then traffic off those other corridors. So thank you. Anything else?
Any other proponents or opponents? Yes.
I just want to follow up on the Trumbull Park stuff. I spoke last
Can you
meeting,
state your name and address for the record?
Edward Weniger, 1709 Ridgeview Drive. I was over Lee Beg last time. So Trumbull Park, that field right there, they literally, like, the teachers tell the students not to use half that field. And so while it looks like there's lots of space to play, like, the kids there are squished up. They're playing football in a kickball field because they can't use any of that space. And so I don't know I think there's been some conversations between the developer and the school, but it sounds like the school board has to be the intermediary to interface with you guys, to interface with the developers or something like that. And so it seems like this would be the time for developers to pay for the fence finally so the kids can use the other half of the field that is sitting there lusciously green. And so that's all. It seems like this is the time to talk about those things before it gets pushed through. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any council discussion? That you're going to go for your mic. Any council discussion? Ms. Klug.
Yeah, I would like to ask the developer to discuss the traffic study that they did, please. Specifically, if you could tell us about anything that was done on Harrison and or Valley Road.
Yeah, and if it's okay, I might just globally talk about, because it all kind of goes, the comments that we got, if it's okay, I'll address all those, which...
That's fine.
That should work.
Okay. Brent Beller, 1140.
It's going to be too hard to break them up into the 8 individual items.
That's right. Brent Beller, 1140 West Center Road. I'll start with Carol. Carol, I'll try to get you to like me, but the reality is that park that is to the north, Trumbull Park, we're not touching that. That's not changing. That's not part of our property. It's not within our development. There is some language in there, though, that, and I might defer to Mr. Sturzman or Mr. Gibbons, that if the city works, they have an agreement, or they're working on an agreement with the Corps of Engineers, the NRD, for that creek. And if there is work done on that creek At that point in time, and if there's financing available, we might do that South Harrison extension. So as we sit today, day one, when we're out there doing all the other public improvements, we're not doing South Harrison. That is off to Pete. Told you I'd get you like me. That's off in the future if and when, you know, we have the funds available. Both the city, there's a partnership between us and the city on the cost sharing of that. But if that's done, that South Harrison connection, there is some conversations about relocating Trumbull Park onto our property. So we have outlot G, which is right to the north of our development. That's an acre of park ground, and then there's another, it's an outlot, but there's another outlot over there that'll be an open space that we want people to use. So we're planning for all that. So with respect to the park and South Harrison Street, that's a bigger conversation that, number one, we're not touching Trumbull Park. Number two, South Harrison might come in the future, but as we sit day one, we're not doing that. The city's not doing that. And then number three.
Question, you keep saying future. Are you talking future is 2 years or future is 6 years?
That's a great question.
Future is 10 years?
He won't be able to answer that because some of that involves the Corps of Engineer, and it actually gets to a bigger picture. If you remember when we did, I want to say Cornhusker, but not by the Monarch High School when we did that road,
Tenniel.
and the Corps of Engineer, because of the worm and the navigable waterways of the U.S. in the ditch. The Corps of Engineers made us turn that park into wildflowers. You remember that whole fiasco? And then it ended up being a weed patch, and crime went up, and we wanted to mow it, and the Fed said I was going to go to jail.
Yes.
And we went and mowed it anyway. The kind of the compromise of that, because we actually ended up, and Mr. Stubbe helped us, we escalated that all the way to the number 2 of the Corps of Engineer at Washington, D.C. to bring some sanity to that whole thing. And it was after those conversations that they allowed us, to move that mitigation effort. And so we had to spend, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million somewhere to move all of that wildflower mitigation, and they moved it down to that Trumbull Park, which is why now that's that big water area that's natural flowers and all that. That's a federal mitigation site through the Corps of Engineer. So to his point, if we even want to put a road through that, we've got to get permission from the Corps of Engineer, and that's not going to be a small effort. So because federal's involved, it's in that bigger picture. I don't think he has any ability to say whether it's 10 years, 2 years, or 20 years.
And is that the developer kicking that discussion off, or is that the city kicking it off?
Well, as far as what kicks it off, I'll probably look to Mr. Gibbons on what's the trigger. But whenever it's triggered, we're involving the Corps of Engineer, and that's moving a mountain.
That would be correct. It's a future obligation for the district, but it's one that the city has to take initiative on the Army Corps of Engineers and having those discussions with the Corps. And again, it could be a 2-year project or a 10-year project.
I don't think it's an answerable.
We're going to do that?
We're not actively pushing it right now unless there's some council direction. So,
okay, no.
So partially as far as time frame,
Definitely
I don't
not
think it's an
any
answerable
council direction
question. So,
Thank you. And
you're welcome.
I'm sorry, I want
I didn't
as
want
much
to interrupt, but
information out as we can. Thank you.
Fine. To your traffic study, yes, we did a traffic study. We did a couple traffic studies, and frankly, the traffic study was some of the stuff that we had heartburn. We wanted more lanes on some intersections, and the traffic study, you know, the way the intersection on Cedardale coming out of our development on the east and lining up with the intersection to the east, it didn't work. So that, you know, there was a lot of that going back and forth. But the reality is South Harrison, as far as from a traffic study, it's good practice for cities to have connectivity, and Mr. Sturzman and I had many conversations about it. It is good practice, and though most neighborhoods don't like that, the reality is there's not a lot of traffic, and our traffic study indicated that not a lot of traffic from our development's going north. And if anything, if South Harrison actually does come in the future, I think it'll alleviate some of that pressure on the neighbors to the north, and it's easier access to get into our development. So there's nothing that in our traffic study, though, that indicated we needed that South Harrison connection. It's just good practice as far as connectivity of streets and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure if that answered your question entirely, but that's what the traffic study said. I wanted to talk, Mike had a question on Matthews Drive. That intersection in and of itself, that'll be a right-in, right-out. So that was another thing that we talked with Public Works about, and just making sure that the island and the T-intersection, the T-bone intersection that'll be right there, That was all designed correctly, both with our design engineers, our traffic engineers, and then the city public works department, and then also the city engaged their own traffic engineers to study that intersection along with all the other intersections. So, you know, point being is right in, right out, right there. There will be no left out of Matthews Drive. And we think that's probably, and we agree with the city, it's probably the safest mechanism. And if folks want to go to a full movement, they can go up to Cedardale. I think I answered everyone's questions on traffic, South Harrison. Oh, the water. Carol had a question on water. So one of the things that we're doing in partnership with the city is the Outfall Sewer. So all of our water, all of our storm sanitary, that's all draining to the north. We're constructing a new outfall. That outfall is actually going to go off our site all the way north up to Monroe Street, and that's all part of our projects. And that's to alleviate maybe the water issues that I'm not sure what exactly are. But that's to address all the storm water that's running off from our project.
And that'd be in addition to the detention that's on site as well to hold back.
We obviously have to retain water on our site.
Okay, so then a question that I got yesterday from a resident is we noticed all of a sudden, to us anyways, that you have your primary monument sign and a secondary monument sign. Both of them are on 90th Street, which is directly across from houses. Are those lip monument signs, or is that just solid concrete? A lot of questions about that shining over into neighbors' yards.
These will be, so the city has design standards for all signs.
Right.
And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know the signs that'll be north, which is along Valley, those are smaller, just, you know, no different than what's, I forget the neighborhood, what the neighborhood to our west is, but no different than what those monument signs are. These are not large, elaborate signs. These are small neighborhood subdivision signs. There won't be anything that violates the city's ordinance on lighting, and everything will be down lighting. But those are not large billboards, you know, flashing light signs. Those are, I don't know what Mr. Calabretta is calling the subdivision just yet, but those would be small monument type signs.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other council discussion?
Mayor.
Mr. Gaines.
I just had a couple questions. Can you tell me, just for the public, because obviously you made the point it's a big project in the middle of the city, so I get a lot of questions. How are you going to construct this by zone, and then what kind of time frame do you have for this project?
That's a great question, a very important question. So the way we did this, if you remember the way we master planned it, is we believe that we needed to have single family residential in this project. I can tell you without breaking any confidence right now, the amount of interest that we have had on those 54 single family residential lots has been instrumental, even in the climate that we're sitting today. We believe in our project, and we think those will go pretty fast. I don't want to take Mr. Potoff's thunder too much, but I can tell you that we probably have 7 to 8 purchase agreements going right now for all the multi-use lots. So that's your multifamily. That's a lot of the lots that are along South Washington, 84th Street, and then a grocer, and then some of the higher end office uses on both the 84 and 370 and South 90th 370. So we expect that by the end of this year, we will have 7 to 8 of those lots under contract going. How the multifamily goes, I don't know, because we've waited for this moment. We wanted to get our final plat done so that we can record covenants, because single family resident owners, they want to know what are the covenants, what are the lot prices, and we've just kind of been pumping the brakes a little bit to get past today, and then I think all that information will become public.
Mr. Stubbe?
Mr. Gaines asked my question,
Okay.
so I appreciate that.
All right. Any other council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde. Yes. Gaines. Yes. Glover. Yes. Jaworski. Yes. Klug. Yes. Stubbe. Yes. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. Again, we'll take all the comments from this one for the record and keep them with each of them. Item F10, Resolution R220072, a resolution to approve a final plat for the property legally described as a plat in a part of Tax Lot 5, a tax lot located in the east half of the northeast quarter of Section 34, also together with part of the west half of said northeast quarter of Section 34, all located in Township 14 North, Range 12 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska. Generally located on the northwest corner of South Washington Street and Highway 370, the applicant's 84-370 Main Street, LLC. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220072? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents other than what's been said? Any other council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde? Yes. Gaines? Yes. Glover? Yes. Jaworski? Yes. Klug? Yes. Stube? Yes. Engberg? 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. F11, Resolution R220073. This is a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve the Highway 370 Mixed-Use Development Subdivision Agreement. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. Any proponents or opponents? I don't know if the applicant's still here, and we'll carry over the comments. I'll close the public hearing. A motion to approve Resolution R2200. Oh, did somebody want to say something? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and come on up. Public hearing is still open. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Brittany Holtmeyer, 207 Ridgewood Drive. I'm neutral. I just had a question regarding the houses. If you know, like, how many are coming and kind of like what's the price range determining like families and kids? Just to see like kind of what school they go to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I'll have a council member during discussion ask it. One of the things we don't want to do in public hearings is get into a Q&A with applicants. But the question's on the record, and then a council member can follow up in council discussion. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220073? Motion by Councilman Gaines.
Second.
Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any council discussion? Anybody want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do. Would you please come forward and tell us a little bit more about the homes you're planning and what the demographics of it might look like with respect to age of people and number of children?
Oh gosh, Brent Beller, 1140 West Center Road. All are welcome to buy any lot within the subdivision. I would say, so we have, there's 54 lots, single-family residential lots. Lots 1 through 19, those are more estate. Those would be, those homes will range from 1,700 to 3,500 square feet. And then lots 20 through 54, those are your traditional single-family, a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller in the sense 1,500 to probably 3,000 square foot. One thing that we're not doing is we're not doing builder-attached lots. So these are, if somebody wants to buy a lot, they can go buy this lot and they can bring their builder, and we don't care who builds it. And so that kind of, the reason I mention that is that dictates the price of your home. And so we think those homes will be about $350,000 to $750,000, but being transparent, the cost of houses is going up right now. We have nothing to do with that. We don't control lumber. We don't control anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have homes that are higher than $750,000, and maybe they're $900,000 if somebody buys an estate lot, which are kind of a little bit larger than the more traditional single family. So, the mixed use development agreement and the declaration of covenants that we have for those lots will kind of dictate, they have the size requirements, they have the design standards and all that good stuff. So when someone inquires, we will give them all that information and they can decide whether or not they want to buy a lot.
And I know this isn't your first development. What's your best guess for the number of kids that would be in this area?
So
just a rough.
I would hope that if you want a town center where you can walk your kids to get ice cream and do everything else, all 54 of those lots are bought by families. If you wanted to retire and you're done taking care of your yard, you're probably looking at lot 55, which is the cottages and the townhomes. In addition, we have planned a number of townhomes that will go along all of Cedardale, up on Matthew Street. So again, those are the idea for those are minimal maintenance. You're not doing yard work. You're just there living, which that is becoming a hot product for folks that just don't want to do yard work and they just want easy living and want to walk to everything, kind of a classic throwback to how towns used to be. So that's the idea. That's what we're going for. We hope that families buy all 54 of those lots.
And has it been determined which school district this will fall in, as far as which school?
I don't know. I know the school has been contacted about this. One of the things that we have to do is the school district reviews all this and they comment. They work with staff to get any input. And as far as we know, there's been no complaints from the school district.
Right, okay. And if they haven't committed yet where they're gonna go?
And that's typical. They usually don't tell us if they're doing boundary adjustments with subdivisions.
I believe that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just...
Mr. Mumgarde.
I just want to build off of that a little bit. I don't think there is a good answer to the question of who will be there. I am very intrigued, though, in the variation of density that you have. You just mentioned the different kinds of houses that will be there. There in the north area will be houses that are as big and as expensive as anything in Papillion. But then you move into the more interior zones, you've got the cottages, the townhomes. That's what's really intriguing to me about this development, in that we're going to see a lot of different life conditions in people who live in this area. And I can't even tell you the age groups that you're talking about for the cottages and the townhomes. Will those be people with kids? Tending not to be so much. They tend to be people with maybe infants or people at the other end of their housing needs. So when you start talking about the housing aspect of this development, the variation in density and type of housing, I think, is extremely good. I want to see that repeated in other areas of Papillion, and so I commend you for that. And who will live there and what will it be? I don't know. I'm interested in seeing.
It's purposeful. Density cures all ills when you're talking about development. And so we wanted to have something for everyone. I didn't even mention, we will have a senior care facility. So for folks that want that sort of environment, they have that. Another thing I didn't touch on is throughout our whole subdivision, this entire district, which we're calling the Tower District, I didn't even mention that. There's trails, there's connectivity. So you can walk from those North Estate lots all the way down to the city and grab dinner at the retail and the restaurants that are going in. If you live in the apartments, you can go on a walk and walk through the trail system. It's all very purposeful. It was all master planned for the very reason that you brought up, which bringing a lot of folks into one subdivision, and with all those people living here, all the mixed use that we have planned will just fire off. It's kind of, can't say that we're geniuses because we haven't done anything yet, but that's the idea. That's what we're going for.
Any other council discussion? Mr. Jaworski.
I think you answered my question, but I need to ask it anyway. When you said you're not builder attached for the lots, if somebody brings their own builder and they are going to follow our standards, right? Or your standards, our standards, am I right with that? So, okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Correct, yeah. So
okay.
we have, there's two things. Number one, we have the mixed use development agreement. We have zoning, the city zoning, but then we also have our covenants, which mirror what the city requires. And then Mr. Calabretto has set a number of design standards. So for any builder that comes into this subdivision, they're going to adhere to the same covenants and the same building standards as any other builder.
Okay, that's it. Thanks. That's what I wanted to hear.
Other council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde? Yes. Gaines? Yes. Glover? Yes. Jaworski? Yes. Klug? Yes. Stube? Yes. Engberg? Yes. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. Number 4, F2, Resolution R220074. Again, a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve the Highway 370 mixed-use development agreement. It's a public hearing. Anybody else want to speak? Yes. Go ahead and come on up. And if you'd restate your name and address for the record when you come up. Welcome.
I'm Carol Coons, 1012 South Madison. Just with him visiting just now, you guys didn't ask or question about police or fire or schools before you give okay to build all those houses and have all those kids there? And now this one, are they going to be able to cross 370 walking? Are we going to be able to walk across 84th Street any easier than we do now? We have that prison up there. Are we going to be able to cross there? He said we can walk all over, or they can walk all over. I don't know. I don't know if you all know. But it sure puzzles me that it's going really, really, I know he started in 2019, but somebody hasn't been asking questions as to how this is going to work, and then the parking for the school. It puzzles me.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220074? Motion. Motion by Councilman Ingberg, second by Councilman Gaines. Any other discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. F13, Resolution R220075, a resolution to approve the Highway 370 mixed-use development sewer and water connection agreement. Motion to approve Resolution R220075. Motion by Councilman Stube. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. F14, Resolution R220076, a resolution to approve the Highway 370 mixed-use development access easement and maintenance agreement. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220076? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Ingberg. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. F15, Resolution R220077, a resolution to approve the Highway 370 mixed-use development Outfall Sewer interlocal cooperation agreement. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220077? Motion by Councilman Ingberg, second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion. Please vote.
Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. Item 8, F16, Resolution R220078, a resolution to approve the Highway 370 mixed-use development South 90th Street interlocal cooperation agreement. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R220078?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Stube, second by Councilman Jaworski. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion?
Mayor.
Mr. Stube.
Yeah, so this is one where obviously the development itself is going to have internal infrastructure done. This is an improvement of 90th Street. So if I could get an idea from the developer with regard to when that is anticipated to be approved. Obviously, there's a cost-sharing component of that with the city. So, Brent, if you could address that, appreciate it.
Brent Beller, 1140 West Center Road. South 90th will be improved to a 3-lane, so a northbound, southbound, and then a turn lane. We'll also have some decel lanes on our side of the east side of South 90th Street. Those improvements will go in connection with all the other paving projects in the subdivision. So that'll be kind of a day one or part of all the public infrastructure.
That answers your question? Yes. Okay. Any other council discussion? Please vote.
Mumgarde. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention by Sunday.
Motion passes. Thank you. It's all the regular agenda items. No committees have met. Comments from the floor? Welcome. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Michael Tiedemann. I live at 101 Somerset Drive. I just wanted to point out today's the last day of National Police Week. Our police work hard all year round protecting our city and keeping us safe. I think they've done an outstanding job. I just want to personally thank Chief Whitted and all the officers that we have on our police force. Also thank you, Councilman Ingberg, for all your years of service to our city as well. I just think it's a good thing that our police are here to protect us and keep our city safe.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Any council comments? There's a couple of things from the last couple of weeks. Had a retirement for Rich Heidenreich, water superintendent. He retired after 43 or 44 years. So that's a big deal. He's been a big part of Papillion and our water, and gave up a lot of holidays for water main breaks. Just one of those people who just served really quietly. So really appreciate Rich. Had a couple of meetings with some site selectors regarding the Sarpy County Museum. It's public information that the museum has put out an RFP to relocate into Central Sarpy, and a couple of landowners have reached out to the city for some conversations about if it located there, what would the impacts be and what would they have to think about. We have no applications in, so I don't think we can disclose who those were with. Went up with superintendent and myself and a number of others up at Midlands Place. The merchants up at Midlands Place gave out a number of scholarships to students. That's been nice for that development. The developer, Mr. Dobb, coordinates with each of the merchants at Midlands Place, and if a merchant puts up dollars for a scholarship, he then matches it. And so they had the awards breakfast up there at Spin Pizza. And then Leadership Sarpy had its graduation. It was mentioned that Tracy Strabin, Matt Kovar, and Steve Thornburg graduated from that, and they're doing their legacy projects. That's been a great project. The half marathon went off without any blips at all. And again, somebody think it's just a fun event, which it is, but there were 14 different states represented, and I purposely, and Mr. Ingberg was there, we try to purposely track down those people from out of state. Said, you just happen to be here. No, they travel in for our event, so they're staying in the hotel, they're going to the restaurants. Pretty significant. One guy from New York specifically came here. There's a guy from Wichita that comes every year just for our event. So it's got a tourism aspect, which is nice. League of Municipalities, I think I mentioned them on the executive board, had a board meeting there. Just a couple of updates on the building here. If you notice, just some work still going on. Some of the final technology things are being done. We don't have our voting system yet. I'm not going to commit to it, but maybe next council meeting. So we'll get back to the queuing system and having the voting within the next couple of meetings. Couple of minor tweaks to the air conditioning system are going on. You'll start noticing a little bit of internal signage goes up to help the public understand where the offices are. And then there's one more set of doors to be installed yet, but projects coming together. A reminder, Sumter Amphitheater's kicking off its season. This Friday's the first of the ticketed events. Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is at the amphitheater this Friday. And then again, we have the movie series that are free to the public. We've got concert series free to the public and a handful of the ticketed events. The rec department just put out a flyer today with the schedule that's handy to have. I think every year we put this in the water bill to get it out to everybody's house, but it's also on the website. So look forward to that. Any other council comments? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
Sunday. Mumgarden. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stube. Engberg. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned.